Good day and welcome to the Information Command Center here at the studios of GIS. We're live on NTN as well as on Facebook, YouTube, and WVNT 93.5 FM. Today in studio we have a very special program lined up for you. Actually, I will not be your host today, I'm just doing the official introductions. As everyone knows, on Monday, September 7th, life as we know it with regards to the opening of school is supposed to go back to normal, and I think it's going to be one of the most anticipated events of the year. So to discuss this and matters related to education from the students' perspective, we have a very interesting panel in studio with us, and this initiative is supported by the National Students' Council. And the title of this program today is Voice of the Students, the New Normal. And of course, this brings into focus some of what has been happening behind the scenes leading up to this moment. We know that the students returned to the classroom after schools were shut down due to COVID-19 in March. And later on, the students returned, particularly grade 6 students, as well as students preparing for CXC. The ministry, through various initiatives, encouraged the hybrid learning through the No Child Is Left Behind policy under the Educate St. Lucia brand. There was digital and instructional learning for students as well as teacher training with digital platform. The equipping of teachers with technological tools, the provision for students who are not technologically proficient or do not have access to devices, and there was also the support for parents as well in that regard. The ministry have also been pushing its ICT in education policy, which was launched in 2017, as well as the Early Learners Program. As we speak today, a number of ministry and government officials are embarking on a tour of the school plant and school facilities to ensure that everything is ready and everything is in order for Monday, September 7th, not 17th. So no, we're not giving you students some extra time. It is Monday, September 7th. The government of St. Lucia has spent in excess of $10 million with the school refurbishing and upgrades to ensure that all is in order as students return to the classroom. We're now taking a very short video so that students are aware of some of the protocols as they get ready for the new normal. And when we come back from that video, your host for today will introduce himself and his panel in studio with us today.
Back to school is finally here. Jay, you have your hand sanitizer, you have your disinfecting wipes. I even gave you an extra mask, and this one you can put it on.
Jaden, what are the COVID-19 rules?
Wash your hands, always wear a mask, and 6 feet away.
Ensure your children are provided with a personal hygiene kit to carry and use on a daily basis. Items like hand sanitizer, wipes, and extra masks should be in there. Remember, if your child does not feel well or is showing any flu-like symptoms, keep him or her at home. Ensure your child wears a mask at all times, especially upon the arrival at school. Classrooms have been prepared to ensure physical distancing. Teachers and support staff will guide students during the day to wash their hands, and all surfaces, desks, chairs, door handles, and washrooms will be cleaned regularly. By now, administrations of schools would have communicated the new schedule specific to your child's grade or form. Lunches will be consumed at the student's desk or outdoors while respecting physical distancing.
As we start the new school year, 2020-2021, we are all adjusting to the new normal that was introduced by COVID-19. I beg of all of you, let us observe the guidelines as prescribed by the Ministry of Health. Our children, teachers, educators, stakeholders, we all depend on one another to do the right thing for the sake of our children and the sake of our nation. Let us all be vigilant and observe the protocols as defined by the Ministry of Health.
Good afternoon, viewers on St. Lucia, students, parents, everybody in the Caribbean region and around the world, and welcome to our panel discussion today. Our panel discussion, the new normal, the voices of our students today, and we will be having student panelists. So this is a student-rounded panel discussion on how COVID has affected us as students and moving forward into the new normal. I am Alan Splant, and I will be your host for today for this panel discussion, your moderator. I am a 15-year-old student of the St. Mary's College. I am the current president of the Students' Council there, youth parliamentarian, and former public relations officer of the St. Lucia National Students' Council, which in collaboration with Ministry of Education today is having this panel discussion. Over the past few months, we have seen how the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the education sector and has initiated a transition from the physical classroom space to virtual learning, allowing both students and teachers to resort to remote learning and use of the endpoint devices. As a student-led organization, the St. Lucia National Students' Council focuses on ensuring that all students are represented and all issues being faced by the student populace is addressed accordingly and are voiced to the key stakeholders. This global crisis has caused a great shift, what we would normally know as schooling to normal procedures. Today, we will be focusing on the voice of our students as it relates to the reformed method or system of learning. Today with us, we have Ms. Tomika Valse, student of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, Ms. Cabrina Sepal Brown, student of the Sir Ira Simmons Secondary School, and Ms. Leila James, student of the Ave Maria Primary School, and she will give you more about herself at this time. So we'll go around the table and we just want to find out how our lovely panelists are doing today. So we will start off to my immediate right, Ms. Leila James, to give us a brief introduction of herself.
Hi, I'm Leila James. I am 12 years old. I recently passed for St. Joseph's Convent. I love cooking and baking, and my family is a very supportive set of people. I love them very much, and I cannot wait to start school.
Very nice. And to my in the middle of our table, we have Miss Cabrina Sepal Brown.
Hey, I'm Cabrina Brown. Recently wrote my CXC exams in July to August. I'm a future chef, St. Lucia future top chef. I love cooking. Yeah.
And to my immediate right, I have Miss Tomika Valse.
Hi everyone, my name is Tomika Valse. I am a student of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. I'm currently pursuing an associate degree in biology at the Division of Art, Science, and General Studies. I love cooking as well. I am an athlete. I am a floor on the St. Lucia National Students' Council.
Thank you very much for the lovely introductions. Before we start off, I believe on behalf of the panel and St. Lucia, we can congratulate Miss Leila James on succeeding to the St. Joseph's Convent. Indeed, an achievement for a student right now coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. So congratulations to you, Leila.
Thank you.
So jumping right into the discussion, I, for myself, look forward to a wonderful discussion today with my panelists. And it's quite, I don't even know how to say it, but I'm the only male on the panel. So we have a heavy feminine panel today. I can say that Mr. Tony and I are maybe the only males here speaking today, but it's lovely that we are oriented on the females now and that we give them the space to give from their perspective on learning, especially here in St. Lucia and as students. So jumping off into, well, I'm a student myself, like I said earlier, so I will interject in my points to breed discussion amongst us. So we're going to jump off into the question and you will give your answers. I note that we have future chefs here also, so I guess after we'll have a few refreshments, compliment of our chef on the panel. So jumping with our first question to the panelists and whoever wants to go first, what did you feel about the sudden closure of school? Because I remember it was clearly mid-March when we recorded our first case of coronavirus, and a press release was sent out by Ministry of Education that school would have closed. Now I'm going to give how I felt, because how I felt at that time was, so with my panelists to give, how did you feel when you learned that school was going to be closed, given that we recorded our first case in St. Lucia?
Honestly, I was kind of happy because, school is not the funnest place to be. It took many of us by surprise, and the government, they did all they can to keep us safe from corona, so yes, it was very sudden, and yeah, I was kind of happy, honestly.
Okay. Well, given that we did not know how long that the COVID-19 would have prolonged, didn't you think of what would happen to common entrance in the long run? Because, common entrance was really scheduled for June of 2020. So did you have any thought of what would have happened with the common entrance examination?
Yes, honestly, I thought that we would not be having common entrance anymore, but we still ended up having it. And it was strictly multiple choice, no problem solving, comprehension, anything like that. So
okay, that's nice. So at least you gave thought of your future and what would happen in the long run. So that's very well. So, well, Cabrina, if you want to tell us, how did you feel when you learned of the closure of school?
I felt a bit sad for a moment, just thinking of my SEC examinations, which was supposed to begin the following month, April. Yeah. So I panicked for a bit, but I was still happy that I would have a longer period of time to prepare myself for my exams, which was coming up. Okay,
that's very good. Tomika, being one of our senior students here, how did you feel when you learned of the closure of school?
If I'm being honest, I was quite happy as well, just a little. I was actually expecting it, so when it happened, I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Hoping that, provisions would be made for us as soon as possible.
Okay, that's very nice to hear. As for me, I shared earlier how I felt when I learned the closure of school. I think plenty of my friends who are watching now, they can relate how school, what we learned when school. I was at a party at the time, one of my friends' birthday party, when we learned that school was going to be closed. Now, quite honestly, the first thing that came to mind of the students of my age group was that the week coming was the mock examinations, and there was no mock. So in that case, I personally expected, because what Leila said, that school is not a funny place to be at, that's something you would hear a lot of students saying. So I expected the reaction to be, we're not having mock, we're happy. The reaction was, we're not having mock, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to CXC? So I told them, well, I wasn't writing CXC at the time, so I told them, well, let's focus, let's relax our minds for now. I guess Ministry of Education and schools will know what they're going to do. Because, right now we're doing everything as it pertains to COVID and handling COVID. That is a priority now. So I must say that our students were goal-oriented in passing the CXC examinations, and I believe that you all shared the same thing, so which I'm quite pleased about. And I think that should be something that you all should epitomize amongst all our students on island, in always being goal-oriented to continue. Okay, so our next question, we had to transition into online learning because we realized that school was closed, cases were rising, so that means we had to control maybe the level of, or to avoid in-island transmission in our country. And we would know that our schools are breeding grounds for in-island transmission. So our Minister of Education went on right here at GIS and said that we would be having a home term free and that we'd be doing online learning. So for you, what was your reaction in hearing, two questions. What was your reaction when you learned that we would be having online learning, especially as students doing CAPE, the free major exams in student life? How was your reaction to that? And two, how did you transition, being so awkward with the physical classroom, how did you transition into online learning? Well, any of you who want to start off with, but so I will go to my immediate right with Tomika.
I didn't have a chance to react, honestly, because it was after transition very quickly. Before the announcement was even made, I was already having online classes. So I didn't quite have time to react. And it was quite smooth for me because I already had everything that I needed to go into online learning. I already had it. So it wasn't really a problem for me.
Okay. Cabrina, can you tell us, is that something, well, you told us you were going to Sir Ira, so I guess Safa, was online learning something that you were already doing at your school? What was your reaction, you know?
My reaction when hearing that we'll be doing online classes, I didn't have a reaction because that term was revision term for us Form 5s. So basically we were done with the syllabus already except for one subject, which had a bit of challenges on the online classrooms. That subject was mathematics, and you would understand different topics of mathematics in physical classroom better than the online classes. Yes, we have YouTube to help as a guide, but when you look at YouTube, we don't have no English speaking teachers on YouTube. You'll mostly find Trinidadians, St. Vincent's, and this kind of persons. So they will have an accent, and again they will be going faster than your teacher. Whereas in physical classroom, when you tell your teacher you don't understand something, he or she will slow down and explain what you don't understand over. But with YouTube and online, any platform used online, if you were to understand the topic that your teacher is teaching, you'd have to sometimes restart the video so you could try and pick up and understand. So for maths it was a challenge, but for my other subjects it was okay because my syllabus was already done.
Oh yeah, and just before you go to Lil, I think that's something I can relate to also. And I think it doesn't only happen for math, it happens for subjects maybe like food and nutrition, physical education, because you're looking at the practicality of it. Mathematics is a subject you practice. So you need as much practice in the classroom. Physical education, but I mean, you have your theory, but generally you make up your practicality, the practical part of it, and you as a chef student would know about food and nutrition, that you would have your practicals to it also. So I think that's something one student would expect, and that's totally understandable. So Layla, can you tell us what was your reaction when you heard that we would be going to online learning?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at first to adapt to it, but once you focused and knew what your goal was, it would get easier for you. Like for me personally, I knew that I wanted to pass for St. Joseph's Convent, so I focused and I put my mind to what I wanted. And then my teacher was also she was very good. She helped me and the rest of my classmates through our difficulties, and it was very good, honestly, after a while. But the first time it wasn't so easy. adapting to it.
That's very true. I think for me as a student, when I heard Honorable Minister saying that we would be having online learning, I was saying, well, that was expected. That would have been the immediate thing. I mean, government is doing all that they can now for the best interest for us students and to keep us safe. For me, my school, well, I mean, my school, we were all preparing, and then for me, I liked the new perspective to it. My reaction to online learning was something that, being in youth parliament and being that the motion debated was transitioning through learning, that adapting to the new ICT world, because let's face it, CXC is adjusting, everybody's adjusting to doing many things online now. So, like in the books of The Art of War, every crisis has its opportunity. And I think that was one opportunity that Ministry of Education grasped from COVID-19, and it was something that was expanded on for our students in St. Lucia. So this was something I was really happy about, and I heard it. I just wanted to, we wanted to figure out what would be the process and how we would go in adapting to online learning. Okay, so this was expected. Now, I don't think that question really pertains to me because I didn't have any major exams to do. Thank you, Lord. I didn't have any major exams to do. So, with Tomika, you write in Cape, Cabrina, you write in CXC, and Layla, with you write in Common Entrance. I'm going to go just before Tomika. I'm going to with Cabrina and Layla. We know that students were called, I think Mr. Tony mentioned earlier, that students were called for a short period of time in June, I think from June 1st to 3rd, to come to school to do some handworking for grade 6s and Form 5s to do their CXC and Common Entrance examinations. For you, how was that preparation? Just share with us, how was that preparation? Because, I mean, coming out of a global pandemic, you're going to school. How was that preparation?
Okay. First of all, the masks, they were very uncomfortable. You could barely breathe, but the teachers did try their best to, keep us on track so that we won't forget our work, and, So they gave us mocks to do to keep us on track to, So to keep us on track to not forget our work or anything. So, the transition from online classes from physical class to online classes to physical class again, you had to adapt to it quickly so that you would focus.
And Sabrina, will you share with us?
With me as a Form 5 student, well, a past Form 5 student, my exam preparation wasn't a bit of a challenge, because from time you reach secondary school, your teachers, your parents will be telling you, once you do your past papers and you do good in your SBAs, for sure you'll get at least a 1 or 2. But with my preparation, I tried my best. I did my past papers. If whilst doing a past paper I did not understand something, I called my subject teacher to explain to me. When we went back to the physical classroom learning, it wasn't for all subjects, it was for the subjects that the principal or the teachers at the school find that students really needed the help because they wasn't taking part in the online classroom. So for me, the little help going back to physical classroom was good, especially for the mathematics. It helped us prepare ourselves a little better and a little more for our CSEC exams.
Very well. Thank you very much for those discussions and exam preparations. Tomika, you going to write CAPE. Are you in CAPE, right? No. Well, your associates, your associate degree, so you have your normal exams. How was the preparation for those exams? How did you do it online or?
Honestly, it was. At first, I thought a lot about it, and you know, because you have to think of your GPA, keeping it up, and you know, what if it falls because of this online school thing, and you know, just so many thoughts going through your head. But actually, God was good. God is always good. My exams, I didn't have final exams. I had continuous assessment, basically.
Okay.
So it was just a matter of remaining focused until the end of the semester and completing all your assignments, the in-class test as well, online. But I think I can speak for CAPE students, because I think I was surrounded by CAPE students, all my friends, CAPE. They were very stressed. A lot of them didn't know what was going on. They were practically lost. And it was hectic for them, but they pulled through. So I'm thankful that, you know, everybody was able to sort out themselves, from the associate degree to normal exams to CAPE. Yes.
Okay. So this was basically our first half of the discussion. So I didn't really have any exams to prepare for. We had second term continuous assessment. We just had roughly 2 weeks in second term left. So for me, I tried my best to just go with the online learning, go with it. Being in Form 4, I have friends who went to write the CXC examinations, and from what I got, they said that it was okay. The school somewhat had to accommodate them also to go to do the examinations as fourth formers, because we know that the fifth formers were the ones to be at school to write the examinations. So I do hope that from all the I know for Layla is already well set. She knows her results. I think she's been to orientation, etc. So she's getting ready to settle in her new environment. Layla, will get to that later, because for the first time you're going into a new environment with a new normal. So we would want to hear from you what you expect from that new normal in a while. We'd want to know from our teenagers, especially being in the time that your hormones are, all over the place, and we want to know what you are doing at certain times. So we want to know, being on a 24-hour lockdown, how did you adjust yourself to adapt to it? So right now we're currently due for a break. So we're due for a short break at this moment. So we ask you to stay tuned to hear more from our students on this, the voices of our students, the new normal.
Eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. One more time. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. Wasn't that fun? Now, let's try it in French. Tête, épaule, genou, pieds. Oreille, bouche, nez, yeux. Tête, épaule, genou, pieds. Wow, you did well. Now let's sing it. Touch your head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Your eyes and ears and mouth and nose. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Now in French. Tête, épaule, genou, pied, genou, pied. Tête, épaule, genou, pied, genou, pied. Et oreille, bouche, nez et yeux. Tête, épaule, genou, pied, genou, pied. Now that was a little slow, wasn't it? Let's see if we can go faster.
Lucia in the house. We love to learn, we love to play. Come join with us today.
Back to school is finally here. Jay, you have your hand sanitizer, you have your disinfecting wipes. I even gave you an extra mask, and this one you can put it on.
Jaden, what are the COVID-19 rules?
Wash your hands, always wear a mask, and 6 feet away.
Ensure your children are provided with a personal hygiene kit to carry and use on a daily basis. Items like hand sanitizer, wipes, and extra masks should be in there. Remember, If your child does not feel well or is showing any flu-like symptoms, keep him or her at home. Ensure your child wears a mask at all times, especially upon the arrival at school.
Classrooms have been prepared to ensure physical distancing. Teachers and support staff will guide students during the day to wash their hands, and all surfaces, desks, chairs, door handles and washrooms will be cleaned regularly.
By now, administrations of schools would have communicated the new schedule specific to your child's grade or form. Lunches will be consumed at the student's desk or outdoors while respecting physical distancing.
As we start the new school year 2020-2021, we are all adjusting to the new normal that was introduced by COVID-19. I beg of all of you, let us observe the guidelines as prescribed by the Ministry of Health. Our children, teachers, educators, stakeholders, we all depend on one another to do the right thing for the sake of our children and the sake of our nation. Let us all be vigilant and observe the protocols as defined by the Ministry of Health.
Welcome back, viewers, listeners all over the country, students, parents, teachers, and welcome to our panel discussion from the National Students' Council in collaboration with Ministry of Education, Voices of Our Students, the New Normal. And welcome back to all those who are tuning in now, those who have been tuned in from the beginning. Welcome back. I am your host, Alan Splant, and we'll continue right in with our discussion where we left off. We left off from the preparation for exams, major exams for our students. So now I want to go to Layla as a primary school student, who's now graduated from primary school to secondary school. You are now going to the St. Joseph's Convent, full student. What do you expect in your first year, given that you would be wearing a mask? Like, this is the new normal. You would be social, so you'd be practicing the protocols to be socially distant, etc. What do you expect from that? The way that, before, back in primary school, you could go to your pair and ask them for a pencil, and then you could be close with them or have a conversation with them. How do you feel that? What do you expect from this new year for yourself, and how do you expect to maneuver through all those protocols?
Well, I know that we have to keep 6 feet away from our friends and classmates, although I hoped that, we wouldn't have to stay 6 feet away to make new friends and stuff. But my goal really is to, be focused, how do I say this?
Okay, you say, we're going to be focused, etc. So that means with the new normal, you are going to adjust to the new sales and adjust your direction, given that you still have the protocols that you're going to succeed. Mm-hmm. Basically, that's right, and that's what we expect from you. I mean, we regard you now as a young lady going into that new field. So very well. I wish you we have to wish you the best. It's your first year, and what we expected from you from this normal. So back to everyone again. My lovely, heavy feminine panel. As of a few weeks ago, the Chief Education Officer and the PS, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, stated that we would be reopening our schools for the new academic year, September 2020 to July 2021. My first question is that, are you ready for the reopening of school? Are you ready for the reopening Cabrina, can you give us, are you ready for the reopening of school? So given that you just wrote CXC, are you moving on to tertiary level education?
Am I ready for the reopening of school? Honestly, I'm not ready for the reopening of school.
I love brutally honest people. I must say, I love when people are honest.
My confidence is a little bit low for the moment because I'm still awaiting my acceptance or my not acceptance letter from Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. So I'm not ready for the reopening of school.
I mean, yeah, that's something that everybody would expect. Since you're waiting for your acceptance letter and that you're not ready, that is understandable. But I would always suggest to you that you could always, have the confidence, be there, always be assertive, always be optimistic that you would get there because you know that you really worked hard for it and that it will come soon. As for now, I know that the school, I've been seeing from a recent press release that they're trying their best, so it's always good to try to meet them halfway and then they can meet you halfway also. But I understand where you're coming from. I can say that I'm not ready for school. I'm in my school uniform now, but I can tell you that I'm not ready for school. I'm trying to adjust my sales to be ready for school, so it's quite understandable to be ready for school. I mean, we're coming out of a global pandemic and then we're adjusting back to the physical classroom and we have new protocols. So in due time, adaptability and resilience would have to come into play. So, Tomika, are you ready for year 2 of ZAFA?
I have to agree with both of you. I'm not quite ready. I've gotten so accustomed to being at home. Like, I don't think I'm ready, but I will be. We are not going back to the physical classroom. It's going to be online. The only way you come into the school is for, I think, practicals and labs. So I'm hoping that I will be ready by the time school opens.
Okay, I pray that you would be ready also. Layla, are you ready for school?
I am honestly very excited for school, especially because primary school, secondary school is a whole different environment. So, meet new people, meet new teachers, and yes, I'm very excited.
And I'm very happy that you're actually on the panel. Given that the 3 of us on this panel have been very seasoned in secondary school and that we would give you a brief orientation on what to expect at secondary school. So you're going to expect this is a new environment for sure. You would have new cultures. You would have somebody who's maybe from the south, who's maybe from a different culture, or maybe from a different school who has a different culture. And you would have to adapt to those different personalities at one point, especially with the new protocols that we have now. And given your assertion and your optimism that you would continue and you still know, despite the protocols, but to be 6 feet and still make friends, this is very well. For secondary school, I think when we all entered into that new environment, it was something that we were all looking forward to. So yeah, if I were you, I would be very, very excited for school, going into secondary school. But just to let you know that the hard work actually starts now. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's Form 1. Form 1, you would have your going over of grade 6, you're getting the new secondary life of school, etc., and getting to know everybody up at the convent. But the hard work really begins now, and this is the next chapter of your life. So I feel that it's very good that we actually have students mentoring students today. Wow, perfect way, Haley, but that's very well. That's very well. So going back to the pandemic, I wanted to ask, we were on a 24-hour lockdown. It means sometimes you don't even see yourself by the main road, or all shops would be closed. And in some way or the other, and I know that a lot of students were socially, emotionally, mentally disrupted. How did you adjust yourself to that? Because as for what I'm going to give you for me, when I learned that we'll be going on a 24-hour lockdown, that means I'm seeing the CMO saying that we cannot go by, not even by your auntie or anything, or you have to stay at home. it means that you really can't even socialize. You can't even go out far and wide. Police are watching you like hawks. You have to be inside. For me, what I did, I just kept close contact with my friends. I video called and I did things that would have me. I did things that I would normally do, and I became innovative. So what I did for the first time, I learned to bake a cheesecake.
Bravo.
I learned to bake a cheesecake, and I felt very proud of myself. I learned to bake a cheesecake. I cooked. I cleaned all the time. I was just in that one. It's not like I wasn't doing that before. But I just did it. I just did it now, and I became innovative at home in doing so many things in cooking and so on. So for you, what did you? And if it's one thing, an internet sensation now is the app TikTok. So I would believe most people would engage in that kind of social media thingy at the time. I mean, I'm not really into it, but what did you do in that time to keep yourself occupied and from just not distracting yourself from anything? Netflix? What series you watching? Because let me tell you, I need some series to catch up on too.
Well, most of the stuff, I'm not at the age to watch it yet, so...
Well, I mean, Lila's father is in the room at this time, so I would pray Lila's father is hearing what she said at the moment.
I did not watch the stuff, I did not say that.
Okay.
So, mostly I actually like to paint, and I never really knew that I like to paint, so that kept me entertained. And when I went to orientation, we had a book, they gave us a book, I read the book, I watched a series of the book. So, I wasn't bored at home like other children would say they were bored. So I had stuff to do.
That's very nice. So, Cabrina, Tomika, tell us, what did you all do to occupy yourselves at home?
Well, being at home, what did I do to occupy myself? I love cooking, as I said, so I would bake, I would cook. I would watch videos when I get the time because, as you have already heard, I was preparing for my CXC exam. So most of my time was used doing past papers, practicing, and other stuff. But in my free time, I would cook, watch videos, and these sort of things. But I was really occupied because my family are frontline workers. So whilst I was at home, I had to take care of the younger children. So I was occupied, man.
You were occupied.
Yeah, I was occupied.
I think babysitting was something that if anybody has siblings or nephews or nieces, that's something that we'd all relate to. So I think babysitting was on top of our agenda, being home on 24-hour lockdown. So tell us, Tomika.
Thankfully, I didn't have the babysitting part to do so. I got to spend a lot of time with my mommy. Like Lila, I was on Netflix quite often. I baked, cooked. I kept in close contact with my friends as well to, prevent me from really missing them. And they'll talk all the time, probably spend hours on a call. Live stream.
Okay. Let's go to the hours on the call. Tomika,
you have to catch up.
We're on the call with my girl.
No,
you want to tell us?
No, we don't.
The girls.
Okay, the girl crew.
Right.
So you see, I have no male to relate to on the panel because everybody having a girls' night on their call, but that's fine.
Yes, and basically, live stream church because I had to attend church. Even if it was online, I had to. That's how I kept myself occupied during the time.
That's very nice. Wow, y'all did so much. I did a lot of reading. I tried to catch up on some of my textbooks. A lot of things. There was so many things, and what I love to see also was that COVID-19 built a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yes.
I'm seeing people were making cheesecakes in jars, people were making, and it built a lot of entrepreneurs. And that's why I'm going to reiterate that in every in every crisis there is an opportunity, and I guess a lot of people grasp onto being the innovation part and entrepreneurship part of that crisis and that opportunity of COVID-19. Back to the reopening of schools, what do you think about the regulations that you must follow about the reopening of school? So I would give from my perspective, this week I had orientation, and the first thing that our principal mentioned to us was that of the new scheduling system for school, that would be having a day seven cycle system, and that schools the students would be 1 day in, 1 day out. And as a fifth form student now, majority of the days of school I would be there because priority has to be placed on the Form 5 students. So what are your expectations, or how do you think that you would, on a scale of 1 to 10 maybe, adapt to the new protocols for school? Anybody can go.
Maybe it would be very difficult because when I was in my primary school, Ave Maria, I don't really think that it was very difficult to stay away from my friends because I did not see them for a long time when we went to school. Mm-hmm. So I think I would understand better now that if I don't want to catch COVID-19, I need to stay 6 feet apart. Don't share anything that I have because I don't want it. I don't want my family to catch it. I don't want anyone to catch it because it's not, I don't wish that on anybody because it's not something nice you want.
Anybody else to share your expectations on it?
I don't know. Well, it's not really going to be like, I'm not going to have the same experience as Leila, going back into the physical classroom since it's going to be online. So it's basically a continuation from what already started back in March. But when we go in for labs, I'm guessing it's going to be hard for us to stay away from our friends. I mean, you haven't seen them in forever. But as older students, I think that it should be easier for us than the younger ones. I would hope that they are able to cope and adapt as well as we should be able to. So that's really my expectation.
Sabrina?
With me, well, if Safa do accept me, I will be agreeing with what Tomika said, but for me going in the school for practicals, knowing that I don't want to catch the COVID-19, I will follow the protocols because I do understand why the protocols are being placed. So I will follow the protocols.
You have no choice because...
Well, yeah, just to prevent myself from catching the COVID-19 virus. Yeah.
And actually, this is good advice for, just before I go into my next question, this is actually good advice for students because at the end of the day, the protocols are in place to keep us safe. And we have to adapt to the protocols. We have to adhere to the protocols to keep us safe. It's all in for our best interest, not just for us, our families whom we love, the country whom we love, and for the world at large. So it's all for the best interest for us. Just one question again I wanted to mention. Well, I wanted to ask. What suggestions do you have to your friends, or advice you have to your friends who have been socially or mentally or emotionally disrupted, as we were speaking earlier, on going into the new environment that they have now? So for example, Ministry of Education started the program. I forgot the program, but it's a counseling session that students have just come out from the home setting, like Tomika was saying earlier, because she's not ready for school, and then they abruptly have to go back into the new physical setting. So what other suggestions do you have in that case as peers, as student leaders, to give to your peers in going back to school, or to give, you could, even if I guess ministry officials are maybe looking now, to give to ministry officials or anybody that you think can work for the new academic year and for the new first term of this academic year? Any of y'all can go first. And which was one thing I suggested, because one thing that I was mentioning, and a lot of students, being a student leader at my school and being president of the Students' Council, many students brought up the fact that if we are going to be socially distant, then that means we'll not be engaging in any football activities, we'll not be engaging in any of those activities. And these are things that would give us like little breaks, or maybe if you're having a stressful class, little breaks or so. So just any short advice you'd like to give to your students into going into that new year?
Firstly, I think the 6 feet rule has been reduced to 3 feet.
3 feet, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I can just tell you, I feel like prayer works. So for your mental health, I feel like you should pray. I feel like you should find positive people with positive energy to surround yourself with. For me, what really worked was, apart from praying, being on calls with my friends, hearing the laughter and talking, that really helped. So don't keep everything to yourself. Don't hide away from, not because we have all this new normal thing going on that you shy away from people and whatnot. But use the opportunity. I know all the schools have pay counselors, pay helpers, and whatever they call it there. Use that to help you. Always speak out. Always express your feelings, and find things that make you happy. Don't just think about all the negative COVID has brought, but more or less think about the positive.
Great. Kabrina, any advice?
Tomika, I think great minds think alike.
Wow.
Well, a word of advice. Secondary schools, you all do have, I'm not sure about primary and infant school, but secondary schools, you all do have your counselor and a peer helper group. The peer helpers are in blue, both shades, 2 different shades of blue.
Or they normally
the baby or badged, yeah. So when you feel real down or depressed that you cannot run to one of your close friends, you have the peer helpers back. Just pull. It don't have to be one of them but pull one of them on a side and tell them you need to talk to them. And I can assure you that they will make a time in the day for you. Or if you cannot get none of your peer helpers, your counselor is there. You could run to your counselor. Your homeroom teachers are there. Your dean of disciplines are there. So don't take that pressure inside of you and burst on somebody else.
Right, very nice. Yeah. Well, Layla, our 2 senior students gave the perspective of tertiary and secondary. So what advice would you give to somebody who's maybe going to write common entrance at the moment or in primary school?
Don't worry. All you have to do is focus, have a goal and make sure you reach your goal. Don't listen to any negative people who don't wish well for you. Just listen to your parents, because they know what's best for you. My parents were honestly a very good help to me, especially because it was online classes and they were always by my side to help me with my work. So my advice to you is, or to any of y'all, is be calm and focus, and you will do good, because it worked for me.
Okay. Some wonderful advice from our student leaders. I'm very sad that we'd have to close this discussion now due to our time limit, our time constraints, but I'd like to thank our panelists, 3 wonderful young ladies who epitomize and showed true characteristics of what a student leader should be, what a determined student should be, and I wish you all the best in your endeavors, to Tomika, Kabrina, and Layla. As for me, I know where I'm heading for with everybody at my side, and I agree with have a strong support system. And this also, before I conclude, that parents, especially in this time, we need a lot of our parents, especially in this pandemic. The one person I would look up to was my parents, and to find comfort. So my appeal to parents and all the stakeholders in the life of us as students to be there with us, because we're going through a process in our life which we never imagined would ever happen. So we're appealing to you, though, to always be at our sides and to continue the great work with us and nurturing us as students. So the St. Lucia National Students Council continues to support our education sector response to the issues caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. We continue to welcome any engagement from the ministry, and the council looks forward to the collaborative efforts with the Ministry of Education and all policymakers as we continue to ensure that all students are catered for and no child is left behind, and to also ensure that the future global threats do not pose a major negative impact on our students. There you have it. Voice of our students, the new normal. I am your host, Alan Splant, and I do wish you a good afternoon and safe weekend.